Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear press representatives, good afternoon and thank you for taking your time and joining us today. My name is Christopher von Berg. I'm a staff scientist at nova-Institut and I will be moderating the press conference today and guiding you along. Let me, in the name of the whole advisory board of the Renewable Carbon Initiative, extend a very warm welcome to you and welcome to today's press conference. And the press conference today is all about the Renewable Carbon Initiative and the launch of it. The main aim, maybe just as one key message on the Renewable Carbon Initiative, the main aim is that we want to support the transition from fossil carbon to renewable carbon for the organic chemistry and the materials sector. And today we are really excited to finally launch the Renewable Carbon Initiative in public. And today we want to provide you with some fundamental information about the Renewable Carbon Initiative and Renewable Carbon itself. And at the same time, we want to provide you a platform to raise any questions that you might have on Renewable Carbon and the initiative. And for that, for the press conference today, we have prepared a small agenda. And the small agenda reflects the planning as well. So first, we will have a short introduction to Renewable Carbon and the Renewable Carbon Initiative. Second, we will have short statements from the present advisory board members of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. And afterwards, you will have time to ask questions and receive answers. Just in principle for the Q&A at the end, the idea is that you as a watcher can use the raise hand function in Zoom, so that you raise your hand or the hand, you click the button to raise the hand if you want to ask a question. And I can then select those of you who raised the hand and provide you the opportunity to ask the question. And there's also additionally the option to use the chat function where you can write questions, maybe in between a presentation or while somebody's talking. You could also just put a question there. Also, one more point for information, we will record the video of the press conference and make it available afterwards. Good. With that said, I would now introduce you to Michael Karos, who is going to introduce you to Renewable Carbon and the Renewable Carbon Initiative. Michael Karos is founder and managing director of nova-Institut, and he has been working for the Institute for more than 25 years. Michael, if you're ready, I would hand over the word to you so you can introduce us to.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Perfect.
Okay, also a warm welcome from my side. We have prepared this day today over 2 years, so we are very excited to have the launch really today. And I would like to start with a statement of Ursula von der Leyen. Many of you know, she has put a new target for emission reduction. So she's proposing to increase the 2030 target for emission reduction from 40 to at least 55%. This is very ambitious. And next slide, please. And what we have to do to achieve this aim. 80% of the greenhouse gas, here's one word missing, greenhouse gas emissions are directly related to additional fossil carbon from the ground, which is used as crude oil, natural gas, or coal in our industry. In the energy sector, there are many plans how to fulfill the aim, mainly the decarbonization and renewable energies like solar, wind, and hydro and hydrogen. Next, please. But for the material sector, we have not so many initiatives so far, and the Renewable Carbon Initiative is now really going to this topic. Industry has to go beyond using renewable energy. All fossil carbon use has to end, as the carbon contained in the molecules of chemicals and plastics is bound to end up in the atmosphere sooner or later. Only a full phase out of fossil carbon will help to prevent a further increase of CO2 concentrations. The equivalent to decarbonization in the energy sector is a transition to renewable carbon in the chemical and material industries. Next, please. Yeah, this is the logo of Renewable Carbon. You'll see later the logo of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. You will see here already that we have 3 sources of renewable carbon. It's biomass, the leaf, direct CO2 utilization from different sources, and recycling. Next, please. Yeah, we have also a clear definition here. Renewable carbon entails all carbon sources that avoid or substitute the use of any additional fossil carbon from the geosphere, from the ground. This is the key of the whole initiative, to substitute fossil carbon from the ground by renewable carbon. Renewable carbon can come from the atmosphere, CO2, biosphere, biomass, or technosphere. These are CO2 emissions from power plants, for example, or also recycling material, but not from the geosphere. Renewable carbon circulates between biosphere, atmosphere, and technosphere, creating a carbon circular economy. Fossil carbon shall be completely substituted by renewable carbon, which is the carbon from alternative sources, biomass, CO2, and recycling. This is the only way for chemicals and plastics to become a sustainable, climate-friendly part of the circular economy, part of the future. How fast we can go on this journey till 2030, 50 or longer, we will see, but we have to start. Next, please. Here you see the full picture of our vision. Is renewable energy and renewable carbon for a sustainable future. On the left-hand side, you see the picture with solar, wind, hydro, decarbonization, hydrogen as an energy carrier. This is well known. The right side of the picture, next please. This is the focus of the Renewable Carbon Initiative, is the material world, the chemicals, plastic, materials, like fibers, textile fibers, and all things in this direction. And here we need renewable carbon. The organic chemistry and the plastic industry and fiber are based on carbon. And here you see again the carbon sources which are part of the future. CO2 in combination with hydrogen, biomass, and recycling. And we can produce all the materials we are used to do in our society, but without any fossil carbon. Next, please. And now I will present the Renewable Carbon Initiative. The launch is today, and the aim of the initiative is to support and speed up the transition from fossil carbon to renewable carbon for all organic chemicals and materials. Support and speed up. The Renewable Carbon Initiative addresses the core problem of climate change, which is extracting and using additional fossil carbon from the ground. Companies are encouraged to focus on phasing out fossil resources and to use renewable carbon instead. The initiative wants to drive this message, initiating further actions by bringing stakeholders together, providing information, shaping policy to strive for a climate-neutral circular economy. Next, please. So we are very happy that we can show here today the first 11 board members of the initiative. Beiersdorf from Germany, Cosun Beet from Netherlands, Covestro, but Christoph will go in more details here, so I make it here very short. Covestro, Henkel, NESTE, Lenzing, LanzaTech, SHV Energy, Stahl, Unilever, and UPM. We have in addition more than 100 personal supporters from industry and research backing the initiative. And the initiative is completely open to new members, giving more power to the initiative and partners and personal supporters. And we are very happy that most of these companies have representatives today in the press conference, so we can speak directly to the companies supporting the launch of this initiative. Next, please. Yeah, here you'll see a picture of the personal supporters. These are the first 102 personal supporters. We have every day, we get additional ones. But this is the situation today. And if you have to take a further look for it, you'll see here many big companies, big research institutes with supporting it, but also startups. So it's a wide range of different industries looking for renewable carbon. Next, please. Yeah, I will now give back the microphone to Christopher. Thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you, Michael, for introducing us to renewable carbon and the initiative. Hopefully that was a useful first overview on both the renewable carbon concept and the renewable carbon initiative. Additionally, from today on, you will find more information on the newly launched website, where you can find the URL here, renewablecarboninitiative.com. on the website at the moment, you find information on press releases that we are releasing and will release in the future. You find some infographics. If you go on the media and then library folder, you will find some first infographics on here, including the Renewable Carbon logo. You also find the overview on the initial supporters, the overview of renewable carbon and the concept combined with renewable energy. And you also find our background paper on renewable carbon. In case you're interested to get some more in-depth information and knowledge on the concept, you will find the renewable carbon key to a sustainable and future-oriented chemical and plastic industry paper published on the website as well. Furthermore, there's also information on the board members that you can take a look at, and there's the membership application form with the idea that in the future, we of course would like to get many more companies on board of the Renewable Carbon Initiative and to create a really big impact. Also coming soon in the future is a cartoon that's going to explain renewable carbon and the different feedstocks that can be used for that. There will be an FAQ both on renewable carbon and the Renewable Carbon Initiative. And we are planning a first webinar, more public, where we are also talking about renewable carbon and the initiative on October 27. With that said, if you have any further questions on information or press-related inquiries, here's the email address of my colleague Linda Engel. Feel free to contact her in case you want to have more information, you have further questions, don't hesitate to contact her. And for now, after we've talked about Renewable Carbon Initiative, please hold on to any questions you have, because first we want to move on to the companies that are involved and on the advisory board of the initiative. And we've slipped in one slide on the nova-Institut before, because I'm already speaking, and you might have heard from most of the companies in the advisory board, but you might wonder who exactly this nova-Institut is. And therefore, I would like to introduce us quickly as well. So over the years, the company has been founded in 1994 as a private investment company. And over the years, we have evolved and transformed into where we are at the moment, which is a company that provides research and consultancy with a focus on the transition of the chemical and material industry towards renewable carbon. That means in more detail that we look deep into future challenges of that transformation. We investigate environmental benefits of alternatives that are derived from renewable carbon. We develop and support successful strategies to implement the renewable carbon concept. We look in policy and regulations and much more. And the overall idea is to shift, like we said multiple times already, to shift from fossil carbon to carbon mentioned in the sources, biomass, direct CO2 utilization or recycling. The work in nova-Institut is basically mostly provided on 4 pillars, our 4 departments, which are namely technology and markets, economy and policy, sustainability, and communication and dissemination. So that's quite a wide package of services that we can offer this way. Okay, with that out of the way, I would like to move on to the members of the advisory board of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. And first of all, I would like to introduce the 3 companies that are absent today. So if you allow me, I'll move on to the next slide, which is then the first member of the advisory board, Cosun Beet Company from the Netherlands, and founded in 1970 and based on a cooperation of farmers that dates back to 1899. The Dutch company is one of the leading sugar beet producers in Europe with roughly 700 employees at the moment. You see a quote here from Marilia Fukaraki, who is project leader bio-based at Cosun Beet Company. And it reads, as one of the greenest and most innovative sugar beet processors, Cosun Beet Company is very enthusiastic about the Renewable Carbon Initiative and a firm believer of working together towards a fossil-free world. Moving on, the second company that is not present today is Stahl from the Netherlands. Again, another Dutch company founded in 1930 in the US. Stahl is a world leader in specialty chemistry of coatings, processing and treatments, and a supplier for luxury brands. Today, Stahl has more than 2,000 employees in 27 countries. And the following quote is from John Fletcher, who is Group Director Corporate Affairs. Renewable carbon is the key to sustainable chemistry. By establishing it as a strategic foundation of our business, we can succeed in reducing our own environmental impact and, more importantly, that of our customers too. Finally, the last company that is not present today is UPM Biochemicals from Finland. UPM is a leading company providing wood-based chemicals via biorefining of wood. Founded in 1995, but with roots going back to 1870, UPM today has more than 18,700 employees producing in 12 different countries. The visible quote is from Okko Rengena, Senior Sales and Marketing Manager. Renewable carbon from sustainable sources will accelerate the transformation of the chemical industry and offer brand owners and material producers exciting new opportunities for improving their environmental performance. Right, with those three companies out of the way, I would now like to hand over to the representatives of the companies of the advisory board that are present, and we are going through them by alphabetical order. The first one would be Beiersdorf, German company, and I would like to hand over the word to Dr. Manuela Köhler, who is Chief Scientist, Material Science. Manuela, are you there?
Yes, I am. I hope you can
Perfect.
listen well to me.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you all for your time. To provide you with some information and insights into our sustainability ambitions at Beiersdorf. Beiersdorf is a global skincare company, and since more than 135 years, corporate responsibility and sustainability has been and will always be an integral part of our company DNA. With our products, internationally renowned, with brands like Nivea, Eucerin, and Hansaplast, we strive to make millions of people feel good in their skin every day. In line with our Care Plus strategy, the sustainability agenda, Care Beyond Skin, aims to deliver meaningful impact in 3 areas: for our consumer, our society, and for our environment. Within the environmental part, we take actions on 4 focus areas, 2 of them dedicated to climate action and circular resources. We have set ourselves ambitious climate targets for 2025 in line with the 1.5-degree pathway, and they have been approved by the Science Based Targets initiative. We strive to achieve an absolute reduction of 30% of greenhouse gases across the whole value chain, and circularity of material has a key role in achieving these targets. Therefore, we are convinced that carbon needs to be used in a circular way in the future, keeping fossil carbon in the ground to limit climate warming. We are already using biomass, natural oils, and biopolymers. We are already applying mechanical recycling, for example, rPET bottles, to deliver on our plastic pledge. We are investing in alternative feedstocks to follow our vision to move from fossil feedstock to plant-based feedstock, up to waste-derived feedstocks, up to harvesting the air, meaning that we capture carbon dioxide, convert it to valuable raw materials. We are investing in early research, for example, the Copernicus project, which is dealing with power-to-X technologies. The Renewable Carbon Initiative plays an important role for us. Being part of a strong and diverse consortium, joining forces, we are pioneering and accelerating the transformation of the chemical and plastic industry towards renewable carbon. We will foster scientific and political discussion about renewable carbon to make it economically attractive and a standard. This approach is an important part of our Care Beyond Skin sustainability agenda and strives to transform within the coming years all our products to become more sustainable with every launch and relaunch. What is important to say for us as Beiersdorf, a global company on skincare with leading market positions in many markets all over the world, skin always comes first, meaning that all our products have to perform excellently on skin compatibility, safety, and environmental aspects. With our highly trusted brands, it is of utmost importance for us to excellently be on quality now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuela, for those inspiring words. And with that, I would then immediately move on to the next company of the Co-Advisory Board, which is Covestro, another German company. And I would like to hand over the word to Christoph Görtler, who is Head of Catalysis and Technology Innovation at Covestro. Christoph.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. And together with my colleague Christian Hessler, as you can read in the quote, we are very much proud to be part of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. We feel that this initiative will help to bring us towards a greenhouse gas neutral chemical industry in the near future. And as said a couple of times before, we will take any measures to support this initiative. Covestro is a reasonably sized enterprise with 17,000 employees working on polymers like polyurethanes and polycarbonates. We are kind of a pioneer in using CO2 for the use of polymers, materials that you can purchase today, mattresses, foams, textile fibers, that kind of stuff that is based on renewable CO2 or recycled CO2. We have materials at hand that are based on renewable carbon already, and we will extend these efforts to the year 2050 when our claim is to be fully circular. So we are proud to contribute and to be part of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Christoph. Next is the company Henkel, again from Germany, the third German company on board. And I would like to hand over the word to Dr. Thomas Müller-Kirschbaum, who is Corporate Senior Vice President, Innovation and Sustainability. Thomas.
Thank you very much, Christopher. Good afternoon also from my side. We strongly support the Renewable Carbon Initiative as we see it as an outstanding enabler to replace all fossil-based material. What is a clear direction for everybody who at the end is in favor of the Paris Climate Agreement. And we are really proud to be part of it, of this initiative, Renewable Carbon Initiative. We see it as a perfect alignment also with our commitment to become climate positive that we developed already in the year 2017, and with our engagement for a circular economy. Many of you may have seen Henkel products or have them hopefully held in their hands. Henkel is a leader in sustainability in the three business we are in, adhesive technologies, industry business mainly, beauty care, and lawn and home care. And with that breadth of business, we are almost every day in the hands of around 3 billion consumers. We aim to pioneer with new solutions for sustainable development while continuing to shape our business responsibly and increase our economic success. We have developed already in the year 2010 sustainability strategy based on the factor 3, means the relation between the value we provide and the footprint we make. And this is a 20 years program from 2010 to 2030. And this year we will achieve the midpoint and very much in particular match the targets we have set 10 years ago for our footprint. And one important part is climate and energy, and also raw materials, at the time being bio-based by around 30%. So they will be very helpful to be in an initiative and surrounded by other supporters of renewable carbon. And we are very thankful for the initiative of Nova, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be with this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas, for those insights. The next company is LanzaTech from the United States. And for LanzaTech, we today have Sean Simpson speaking, who is the Chief Scientific Officer and the founder of LanzaTech.
Good morning, good afternoon. So LanzaTech, we have deployed a technology to directly recycle greenhouse carbon into useful material products. The process we have developed is called gas fermentation. And the big advantage of gas fermentation is that we can use, for example, flue gases produced by certain industries, as well as waste streams from society, like municipal solid waste, and waste streams from agriculture, all for the production of fuels and material products. Each of these resources is not only abundant, but also low cost. Our first product is ethanol, which can be used directly as a fuel or indeed a building block in the production of jet fuel and a range of plastics. We're in development of other processes that can produce a range of chemicals and fibers. Our process is commercial. It's been operating in China for 2 years now, using a waste gas produced by the steel industry, where we have a facility that produces around 46,000 tons of ethanol a year. We have further plants in development in India, others in China, as well as a facility we're constructing in Europe with ArcelorMittal in Ghent in Belgium. Being able to produce a range of materials from greenhouse emissions or greenhouse sources allows us to truly enable a circular economic economy. LanzaTech strongly supports the Renewable Carbon Initiative. The RCI is an important coordination of efforts to inform both public, the politicians, and researchers about opportunities and priorities to deploy low carbon technologies in the industrial sphere that will truly enable us to move the dial in our fight to avert a climate crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Great to have you on board. The next company in line is Lenzing from Austria. And for Lenzing, we have present Josef Innerlohinger, who is head of monitoring and funding. Josef.
Yeah, hello, thanks for the introduction, and also a warm welcome from my side to everybody. Yeah, we at Lenzing, we are the big producer of wood-based cellulose fibers, so we are already doing some of the things the Renewable Carbon Initiative aims. So we are using a renewable raw material, namely wood, and of course we are looking that this is done in a sustainable and ecologically responsible way. So, and we would use fibers from this. So one pillar of this renewable carbon setup we're already using. Then we just recently started with recycling. We have developed the technology, the fiber technology, to recycle cellulose fibers to make new fibers out of old clothes, old garments. So this is also recycling we started, and our mission statement actually says that we are a company that uses CO2 and sunlight to produce functional and aesthetic products. So at the moment, we use CO2 via the trees, so not directly, but CO2 usage, as already described before, is something we are looking at the moment, and surely something for the future, because we really want to get better there. And we really support the initiative, and we're really happy to be a partner from the beginning, because we really think it's the right thing to do. It's fully aligned with our strategy, and with all the problems we're facing today, we knew we need strategic partnerships, we need strong partners, we need strong networks that really can bring things forward and really solve these problems we are facing. Here we talk about the climate change and also about the resources which are not renewable. So we must shift here to renewable resources and also the recycling. So this was described before. And that's also a reason for us to join the Renewable Carbon Initiative, to really have this on a broader scale, to work together with companies and individuals who really have the same vision, the same goal. And also what we want to do is to share this vision and to promote this vision in the textile and non-woven's value chain, where many of our fibers are used, and also with many customers who are really seeking for a sustainable, more sustainable product. So we really want to use this initiative and members to really bring this forward in the industries where we are working in and where we are delivering our materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Josef. Thank you for those words. The next company line is NESTE from Finland. And for NESTE, we have Dr. Lars Berger speaking, who's the Vice President, Renewable Polymers and Chemicals. Lars.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's Lars. Well, at NESTE, we think that this is probably exactly what was needed, what the world needed. This is a Renewable Carbon Initiative, and I would like to explain why we think so. Basically, we are a Finnish company, as you said, and we are purpose-driven. We want to create a healthier planet for our children. And that's exactly why we are joining the initiative. We're happy to be the third most sustainable company by Global 100. And we do so because we contribute by already today having 3 million tons of renewable bio-based carbon. which we'll expand to 4.5 million tons. And as well, we are working on chemical recycling capacities, which will allow us to use 1 million ton of plastic waste and make that usable for the chemical industry. And actually, we were struggling always to give this a name. What is it really about? And renewable carbon is exactly what it is. It is all a means in order to keep the fresh, additional virgin fossil in the ground. And that's why we are supportive of this initiative, because it will help us to focus on that topic rather than on giving names to other things. And I think this is also what we have in common. We see that we need all the partners which are on the table and many more in order to make this happen, because overall, I think we also all believe that polymers and chemicals are necessary for the world. And we just need to change the carbon source and take care of the waste problem. And then we are working into the right direction. So with that having said, so already today we have a large bio-based part. We talk about chemical recycling, and also for the future, we will search and continue to search for ways to get other carbon sources except the ones which are from the ground. So very supportive, very happy to be here, and very happy to join the Renewable Carbon Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Lars. There's the second last company remaining is SHV Energy from the Netherlands. And today we have Rebecca Grön speaking for the company, who is the biofuels director. Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Hopefully our screen will show up in a minute, because then you can
sorry,
see
my bad.
Thank you. Then you see our quote on behalf of Keith Simons, our principal scientist, and myself. We're pleased to be here. We're pleased to be part of this initiative because we believe that defossilization is really the objective that we all have. It's often called decarbonisation, which really doesn't do justice to the fantastic elements of the carbon molecule. SHV Energy is a global network of businesses that supply off-grid, decentral and temporary energy sources to millions of customers around the world. They rely on us to heat, to cook, for industrial processes and for transport. We set ourselves a bold ambition that by 2040, we will supply energy sources that are not from single-use fossil sources. We started our journey about 2.5 years ago, and we're well on our way, but we have a lot more to do. And we realize that we can only do that by joining forces with other people, other suppliers of feedstock, other technology providers, and like-minded sources of inspiration, as well as individual participants, so that we can really make a contribution in this space. So being part of the Renewable Carbon Initiative is one way that we can really make a difference, by pulling our resources together to look for the best use of all the different feedstock that we have, including the wastes and residues that are currently undervalued, to make an opportunity for us to defossilize in very important areas all around the world. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Rebecca. Glad to have you on board. Last but not least, we have Unilever from the UK. And today we have Florian Vernay speaking for Unilever, who is Head of Communications in Sustainability, Unilever Home Care. Florian.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The world needs a carbon revolution to fight climate change. And that revolution needs to happen in the world of plastic and petrochemistry too, which are fast becoming important contributors of carbon emissions. At Unilever, we are also changing how we use carbon to make our brands, from Knorr to Dove and Omo, net zero by 2039, and help billions of people live lower carbon and lower waste lives. This is why we committed a few weeks ago to moving away from fossil fuel derived chemicals in our home care product, and instead use chemicals made from renewable carbon. This is a huge shift, one that require our value chain and policymakers to realize that we have reached a pivotal moment in how we all use carbon, and that now is the time to reinvest chemistry together. The Renewable Carbon Initiative we are launching today in the heartland of European chemistry will help make renewable carbon central to the transition to a low carbon economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Florian. And then thanks again to each of the representatives of the advisory board for your support and the cooperation that we already share. So finally, with this, we can move on to the Q&A today. And the principal idea I saw that there have already been a couple of questions written in the chat. But the principal idea would be that you, as a watcher of this press conference, can use the button to raise the hand here in the Zoom tool. We try to visualize that here on this slide. And once you raise your hand, I would assign you the rights to speak. So then you could briefly introduce yourself and ask any questions that you see fit to ask to the members of the Renewable Carbon Initiative. So with that said, please go ahead. And if you have any questions, now is the time. Maybe in the meantime, I see that there's one question in this chat. We could also answer this one here on the call. The panelists, can you see the question? And would anybody be willing to, oh, now it has been answered. Thank you, okay. So then I would turn back to waiting for people to ask questions by raising the hand. No questions popping up. Seems to be everyone is a little shy today. There is one question. Angela, if you're fine with that, I will now allow you to speak. You can speak now. You've unmuted yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will give it a try. Thank you all for the presentation. Maybe just a question more for the start of this meeting today. I understand the importance of having an initiative on renewable carbon and growing that, but what exactly can we expect? What do you think you can do? I mean, I can imagine there are things ongoing within Europe on regulatory, but also on collaborations, working together along the value chain. Is there anything specific you have in mind to organize this?
Yes, Michael?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, we just started and we have, of course, a lot of activities planned for the next 12 months. For example, so to tell first what comes very soon, we will develop a cartoon for the public that everybody, also the public, can easily understand the concept. We see very often discussion on decarbonization, and in chemical and plastic world, decarbonization is not an issue. We need carbon, and we bring this message to the public. We will have a comprehensive Q&A session on the webpage that everybody can go also in details, and we will organize webinars for information to the industry. But of course, we want to go much further. We're planning meetings with the European Commission, with national governments, organizing meetings to discuss the concept. And also, if you look to the Green Deal, for example, the idea to replace fossil carbon is not really mentioned there. So there are a lot of ideas for the energy sector, but the material sector is often left behind concerning political concepts. And there we see our message to change this, to bring this really on the table, because of one additional reason. If you look to the latest publication of the International Energy Agency, they forecast that in 2050, if you don't change the world so far, that more than 50% from the crude oil is consumed by the chemical industry. Well, the chemical industry will become one of the main emitter of CO2 if they don't switch to renewable carbon. And also this is not well known. And yeah, I could continue over 10 minutes what we're all planning. For example, we want to have every month a press release on burning topics. Next could be, for example, on Green Deal or vision of chemical industry. But we also want to wait for the feedback of this launch today I could imagine that we will get a lot of ideas and comments in the next days, and this will also come back to the board members to find the next burning activities.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else from the advisory board who wants to add on this?
Yeah, I can add.
Yeah, just a broad. If you look at the EU targets which are laid out, well, I lack fantasy how they could be fulfilled with a single technology, so to say. So it surely needs exactly the combination of technologies which is laid out in the Renewable Carbon Initiative. And so I think it's just necessary that we advocate for that, the renewable carbon as a term is used and best also used in the EU terminology to fulfill the targets on CO2 reduction as well as on recycling, which will simply not be reachable without something like this.
I would also add that one of the things that we see is that there is somewhat a tendency for hopelessness when it comes to solutions to climate change. Yet solutions really exist. Industrial solutions to produce materials are available. And I think through the Renewable Carbon Initiative, we can certainly highlight and publicize and clarify these to the public and to politicians. And that's really important. It's really important that people see a path to a solution.
Thanks, Jean. Floria, do you want to add something too?
Yes, I think what we've seen over the last 5 years or so is a fantastic movement to make plastics more circular, with a great deal of policy interventions to support this. I think if we are able to create the same amount of policy focus for renewable carbon as we have for the circular economy of plastics, we will have achieved something absolutely enormous. Because, you know, there is currently in the policy narrative, the concept of renewable carbon is completely absent. And because it is absent, we have a huge amount of initiatives going on which are not linked to each other, and therefore are far less powerful than they could be. And so this is the big challenge of this initiative.
Thank you, Floria. Angela, I hope that answered your question in detail. At the moment, there are no further questions. Is there anybody else who would like to ask? Yes, Michael.
Make a comment, please.
Yes,
yeah.
Keith, sure.
There was
I have a short comment from a question which was written in the chat. There was the question on cooperation with other initiatives and how we measure renewable carbon. And I think it's very important that we're not reinventing the wheel. We will cooperate strongly with other initiatives. For example, when we want to measure renewable carbon, we have very great concepts by TÜV Austria, DIN-CERTCO, ICC, RSB on the biomass content. We have similar concepts for CO2 content and also recycling content. And we will all use these existing standards and certificates to add them together to the entire renewable carbon content. So we have not the idea to reinvent anything which is already there. We try to integrate this in this strategy.
Thank you. Keith, do you want to add something?
Yes, it's a question by Paul about how CO2 recycling and sequestration can work together. Mm-hmm. An excellent question, and building on the answer from Michael, 20, 30 years ago when I was a young industrial chemist, you would try to have a process which generated as little CO2 as possible. That was a poor process. And you know, the CO2 would just be vented into the atmosphere. Now there's the opportunity that if part of your process is generating a pure form of CO2, you can actually capture that CO2, put it into a pipeline, and then sequester it, or find an alternative use, mineralization, to sequester that CO2. So it does generate the opportunity to make negative carbon emissions for your fuels and chemicals. So it's actually quite a powerful concept. so that by actively making products, you're also sequestering CO2 in the process and contributing to negative carbon emissions. I think that's a very exciting opportunity as long as we can work out how to valorize that CO2 stream. Chemically, process engineering wise, it makes sense.
Thank you. Right. At the moment, there seem to be no further question. Now there's a hand. Gerwin Wiersma, I have allowed you to speak. Please unmute yourself. Perfect.
Good afternoon. I am Gerwin Wiersma. I'm a policy advisor, economic affairs at the province of Groningen in the Netherlands. We have, let's say, a policy in place that stimulates also the greening of the industry, not only on the energy side, but also on the feedstock side. I think that is very important, and I would, we also see that in our efforts, it's very sometimes difficult to communicate the importance of what is going on here in the field of renewable carbon, and the fact that it, as I think it was Florian that said it, that this renewable carbon is, let's say, absent in the policy narrative at the moment, and it would help very much if that got more attention at the European or at the national level to stimulate the renewable industry in Europe. And what I would wondering is there, are you also aiming at a partnership with, let's say, regional governments?
Thank you, Gerwin. Does anyone from the advisory board like to answer? Michael?
Yeah, of course, we are open to partnering with regional activities, with regional politicians, also with NGOs, with startups. So if you go to the webpage, you see there are a lot of opportunities to cooperate. We need to build a strong momentum. And so, of course, I'm very aware that, especially in Netherlands, there are different initiatives going in the same directions, and we would love to work together. And I would also make a short comment to, you just said that the renewable carbon is absent in the, and Florian also in the policy today. And this is very interesting how this happened. If you go back to 2005, 2010, there was this everywhere to substitute fossil carbon was present in policy. But then after 2010, it was almost lost. And the question is why? I think the main reason is that we have a strong biofuel policy, we have a strong biodiversity discussion, and then there was a fear if we want to replace everything by biomass, there is not enough biomass, and we have really pressure on biodiversity. And this was the reason this concept was almost lost. But today we can come back with a new concept. We have biomass, in addition CO2 utilization and recycling. And we see very clearly that we can only substitute the fossil chemical industry or the fossil feedstock using all three sources, alternative sources. And this was not visible 10 years ago. And now we're coming back with a concept which can really work. And my aim is, and I think the aim of the whole initiative, to make renewable carbon again visible and present in the next policy framework.
Thank you, Michael. Thomas is raising his hand. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Michael said. This is connecting it with the Green Deal and the European Recovery Plan. It is very important also to make now or to start now to plan for the right investments. In particular, if we talk about, for example, for plastic chemical recycling, or if we talk about the chemical processes, just to defossilize those in the next 5 to 10 years, and not only in 20 years from now, we need to push more today, stronger, and not only have a narrative, but also coming then out of that narrative, a very clear investment policy means subsidies in the right direction and to support the industry, at least those who want to invest now.
Thank you, Thomas. Gerwin, I hope that answered your question. If you want to follow up, please don't hesitate. I see that Irene is raising her hand. Irene, you are allowed to speak. You have to unmute yourself. Perfect.
Yes, great. I think it worked. Yes, my name is Irene Latorre. I work also at Covestro. And I think in connection to what Thomas just said, I have a question related to that. I wanted to know what do you think, what could be the contribution of the Renewable Carbon Initiative to make renewable carbon products competitive concerning the price in comparison to fossil-based ones, so that we can really support these transitions. I think it could be maybe with subsidies, etc. But I think this is something which could support the increase of the demand for these products and thus support exactly this transition.
Thank you for the question. Who would like to answer?
Should I try to give an answer? Of course, if you pioneer in a technology, in particular in a sustainable technology, and you do not have yet the economy of scale, it's clear that the first ton that you manufacture is not yet on the price level of products that are in use, mainly then fossil-based, used and made during the last 5 decades and optimized to the extreme. But that is also a part where I said there is in a recovery plan or in the Green Deal, I expect that the European Commission and the national governments exactly not co-invest, but give subsidies or some support beside, let's say, raising a carbon dioxide tax. That is one thing, but give also support that in a time of transformation, those who start and pioneer in defossilized technologies get a support on that. So we cannot expect that from the very first moment a technology that is new and in a ramp up delivers the same economy than a technology that is let's say very much driven by efficiency after 50 years of using it. So, but I rely very much on if we develop this narrative on the support of governments and the EU Commission.
Irene, I think your question is very important, and of course this is one of the topics in our advisory board. We have in the paper 12, which is accessible on the webpage, available on the webpage, a list of potential measures and instruments, like higher CO2 prices in ETS, perhaps a carbon tax, stopping fossil subsidies. We have still worldwide, also in Europe, a lot of strong fossil subsidies and so on. So I will not list it all. You can go to the paper and find it. But there's another thing what is very exciting at the moment, since about 6 months or 12 months, that from the brand owners like Unilever and also others, there's really a strong demand and a pressure to their suppliers to deliver non-fossil products based on renewable carbon, even if they are more expensive. And so the big consumer brands are really now aware of this problem and rising new demand for new solutions. And this, together with some new political framework, really gives hope that the Renewable Carbon Initiative and Renewable Carbon getting stronger and stronger the next decades.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Thomas. I see that Joseph is raising his hand.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a point to this discussion now about the pricing, and like Michael said, now consumers and also brands are willing to pay a little bit more for something that is really sustainable. Not just telling that this is green, that you can really show this is sustainable, this has a positive impact on our environment, and of course it's not a tenfold, but you can have an additional, so you not must aim at the same price level now for, let's say, really this big volume fossil-based materials, but you can still be a little bit above the price. Of course, when ramping up, you will be much higher, but on the long run, I guess people are willing to pay a little more because there's now really an awareness for this climate change. I just read today that young people are not most scared about Corona, but about the climate. So there's really this awareness And I think this is also where this initiative, which from my point of view, really offers a solution to these problems, and it's really a nice approach, can help. So, and I think this is also, there are really solutions that can be scaled up, and then they will be competitive, perhaps a little bit more expensive, but I think that's something acceptable. Because if you think what the climate change will cost us, so if you put this in comparison, it should work.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. Florian?
Yes, I think this is a fascinating discussion. Yeah, the cost of sustainability, if we want to frame the idea that way. I mean, as Unilever Home Care has 80% of its footprint in the developing and emerging world. As you can imagine, cost competitiveness is a pretty important topic in these geographies. And yet we have made this huge commitment a couple of weeks ago to move away from fossil fuels. We are actually not convinced that consumers are ready to pay more for more sustainable products. Actually, a lot of the evidence that we have is that we don't think this is the case. And actually, we think that it is the job of companies like hers to actually make sustainable appealing and easy, and therefore affordability is really critical. I think the beauty of some of the technologies that are behind renewable carbon, behind that concept, is that we are creating a different kind of chemistry. We are creating different kind of molecules, which are a lot more weight efficient. Yeah? So you need to use a lot less to be able to deliver, the same or more performance. And of course, the individual molecule will be a lot more expensive. But if you need to use 10 times less or 15 times less to deliver the same job, then actually, on par, you're really good. And we are already using some biotechnology-derived surfactants in some of our brands in Chile and in Vietnam. And we are doing that at a competitive cost. Mm-hmm. So I think, it is the job of companies like us to make, these sustainable products that are used by billions and billions of people attractive, and not, make these sustainable products a luxury of, 10% of the world population.
Great, thank you, Florian. I see that Christoph is raising his hand. Keith,
Yeah, I just wanted to, thank you. Wanted to add was what Irene was asking. So it's about the Renewable Carbon Initiative. And there's a really true comparison brought up with the renewable energy that we have been facing. And there have been enormous investments into renewable energy being there so far. Multi-billions of euros or dollars have been spent on that topic. And what this initiative can help with is create consciousness and understanding that the chemical industry will have to do these investments as well to make all their processes sound and as renewable as our colleagues from the renewable energy did. And I guess this is not just perfectly understood so far. This is what's kind of be a real, like a Hercules Aufgabe, Hercules-like effort that needs to be taken.
Task, yeah.
This is way bigger than what we can imagine so far. Yes, there is hope, but we need to do it jointly.
Thank you. Keith, do you still want to add something on top?
Yes, so the product cost is based on the feedstock cost, the transformation cost, and the profit that it makes. Now, there is lots of renewable carbon which is available at negative cost. There's a gate fee for it, as well as increasing in cost. Part of the transformation cost comes down to the financial risk of a first-of-a-kind transformation technology. So the larger the scale, the bigger the operations, and the more that we take the huge resource which is available in renewable carbon at various price points, then there's no reason that transformation cannot take place. Yeah. So the fuels industry is doing, and then working alongside the chemicals industry, just as it always was.
Thanks. Perfect. I see that Gerwin is asking again, raising his hand again. So Gerwin, I'll allow you to speak again. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. One of the things that hampers our policy the most is that all of the, let's say, the monitoring of carbon dioxide emissions is aiming at, let's say, the chimney of factories and not at the resource. Is there any way to address that? To say that, I mean, our national goal is to reduce carbon dioxide emissions within the borders of our country, but a lot of our base chemistry industry is exporting their products, and as soon as they're greening the feedstock, they're actually exporting carbon emission reduction, which doesn't account for the national targets here. So how to address that issue?
Would like to answer first?
My question clear?
Yeah, I think the question is clear. I'm looking at the advisory board who would like to answer to that one.
I'll take the first crack at just making the point that technologies, I mean, for example, so we have a technology that can take emissions from certain industries like the refining industry and the steel industry and convert that directly into monomers that can be used in both fuels and chemicals, thereby reducing carbon emissions by displacing those same monomers that are produced from fossil resources. So actually linking into industries that have no alternative but to use fossil inputs and recycling the emissions from those is a very valuable way forward. And I think that's something that that the Renewable Carbon Initiative recognizes and is excited to promote.
Thank you. Further additions on this topic? No more additions, no problem. Also looking at the time, we're 3 minutes past 3. If there are further questions, please go ahead and raise your hand, but I at least wanted to go to the next slide just as an overview to see the website again, and that you can contact my colleague Linda Engel just in case. If there are any further questions, I would wait for a short while if there are more questions popping up. And if there are no further questions, I would like to thank all of the participants, all of the watchers of today. Thank you a lot for the contribution, for the questions, for the discussion. Thank you for the support. And I think that's a very interesting initiative that we are starting here. I'm looking forward to the future of the Renewable Carbon Initiative and hope that we can have an impact in the future.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. And I'll close the press conference. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.